Great morning. How we doing? Great. Now you sound like my brother. Oh, man, that's how I pick up the phone with my brother. How you doing? Great. Yeah, what about you? Great. Okay. Great. I'll talk to you later. Oh, man.
Fake plays do you have in a book somewhere, just generated, just thought of? Is there like a number to it? Like
yeah, there's no number, but yeah, obviously it was a great play. Those guys did a great job executing it.
Is that just instant call? Like, so you've talked about that before. If you see this look, we've got this set up. Is that something you do? Is that something CJ sees? Is that just an automatic call, or kind of what goes into that call?
It's really a combination of a lot of things. Probably all of what you said is really the combination. Obviously, it starts with the head coach. I will say, God, man, he's a beast. I mean, he's great to work for as a coach because he empowers you and enables you. He keeps you honest. He makes you better. He's incredibly smart, really in all three phases, as smart as anybody I've been around. And I think I told you a year ago when we were talking about fakes, he sits in my office and he goes over, everything and every detail of it. So anyways, obviously I feel fortunate to be able to work for him. And I think, some people say, well, it's just such a risky call and stuff like that, which obviously there's an element of risk to everything we do out there. I could relate it to you probably best like this. When I was in high school, I had this great high school coach. His name was Ray Hernandez. He's probably the reason why I'm here today doing this. It just takes one guy to believe in somebody. And he believed in me and that I could be a good football player. And so I would say thanks to all like the high school coaches, teachers, educators. The impact one person can have on anybody is great. But to go along with the story, this guy was very unassuming, and he was into horse racing, and so he liked to bet on horses, which was totally foreign for me. And I'm like, dude, aren't you just throwing your money away doing that, And but he used to study the racing for him, and he knew the jockey, and when that jockey's on this horse, and this horse is trained by this guy, and when it runs on a muddy track, it's one thing, but it's a dry track, it's another. If it's turf, if it's dirt. And he knew the game. He knew that horse betting totally different than I did, and so I think it's a little bit like that to us. Like when we look at any given play, and he was a savant at doing all that, But when we look at a play, it's different. It's like, well, what is their stance? What's their alignment? Are there two guys over there or three? And what is the look of the two guys and the three guys? And there's just so much to it that I think for us, the risk is perceived differently on the inside maybe than it is on the outside on some of those things. It obviously takes a lot of guts to make those calls, but I do think it's a little bit different when you know all the ins and outs of everything there. So there's some of that too to play. And then the last thing I would say, I said this a year ago, but man, the players, it comes down to the players. I mean, to draw the play on paper, you're talking about drawing these plays on paper. It's simple to draw it on paper, but the way that the players make it come to life is obviously inspirational. And they did a great job of execution on the play. Same thing we talked about a year ago. I mean, there's just a lot of parts to it. I don't really want to talk about all the minute details. But there's a lot to it. Those guys did an outstanding job of executing it. And I think a lot of our belief comes into knowing who's doing it and who's executing the play. And we got a lot of confidence in those guys. So it ended up working out, obviously, in our favor.
Like when CJ Moore, a couple injuries earlier in the season, had to release him. He's on Houston's practice squad and then comes back and is helping deliver on those fake punts. The difficulty also of having to release him and then just the excitement of getting him back.
Yeah, I would say the excitement of getting him back, it was incredible. So it's funny because we released him, or he was on, we released him early. He was on the streets. Obviously, he was injured. He had come back in our building and he had worked out. It was right before the bye week, and my wife and I went out to breakfast during the bye week, and sure enough, CJ's there. I'm like, man, this is great. We're going to pay for his breakfast. He's going to, stay here and whatever it takes. And like the next day, he went to Houston. I'm I'm like, oh my gosh, hey man, eat and run. But anyway, to get him back is incredible. I mean, he's a difference maker as a player. He's got a unique skill set. He loves playing special teams. He plays them at a high level, and not to mention just a great person. So I love being around him, and obviously he did a great job on that play.
Sticking with that for a sec, did Ray ever catch a heater like you've been on? Because I don't think you got one miss when Godwin dropped that pass, that making all your fakes, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, it's been good. He was pretty good at it, I think, but I never saw his bank account.
Part of it is catching them off guard, right? Like that's why you run it where you do in that situation, and that maybe as risky as that seems, that lessens the element of it. But are you, I don't know, how nervous are you when you call something like that in a situation like that too?
Yeah, to be honest with you, on that one, I wasn't as nervous as some of them. We had a lot of confidence in it. Some of it just stems from the look that we had and we thought we would get. And then I think I said to you a year ago, but some of these can go on and off. So that helps. You know you're not going to, or there's a good chance you're not going to run it into something you don't want to run it into. And so if you are running it, it's a higher percentage play. So there's a lot of things that help it and help our confidence in the play. But, yeah.
You probably expected to have him a lot more on special teams when you drafted him, but Malcolm Rodriguez obviously carved out a pretty good role on defense and took some of that away from you. But I noticed he had one of the key blocks on Khalif Raymond's return, and then we talked about the CJ Moore punt. Has the reach block, and then I think gets a second level block too. So how good of a special teams player has he been in the limited amount of work that you've been able to get out of him?
Rodriguez, you're talking?
Yeah.
Rodriguez has been great. We liked him coming out, and I was thinking that we were going to get him a little bit more, and we got him, which is good for all of us, really, and obviously certainly for him. But yeah, he has played great for us, and what we've asked him to do. He's played on the punt team for us all season, except for the games he was inactive or the one game. But he's played very well. I think he's one of the leading tacklers on our punt team. And he's got a unique skill set. Obviously, his wrestling background, he's able to engage and block guys even in the return game, which we haven't been able to use him as much on. But we did have him out there because we were in kind of a safe look, or we kept our defense out there. And those guys did an incredible job on that play, starting with both corners, Jerry Jacobs and Akuda, blocking their gunners, 83 and 29. Were outstanding. And then Kirby had a huge block on the left-hand side, and then even Hutch came back in late and shielded a guy late down the field, which is huge. So yeah, Rodriguez has done great. All those guys on that play did a really good job.
Was he schemed up to make those second level blocks? Is that the way the play was supposed to go?
Well, the first part of that play was 4th and 1, and they were obviously backed up a little bit, but it's 4th and 1, and the first part of the play is just making sure we get the ball punted, or if they try to run some kind of fake or something, and we get it stopped short of a yard. And then the second part of the play would be doing that. But there's some improvisation, if I said that word the right way, but to that play after the ball is punted, and a lot of it was just, I think, what did I say, 2 weeks ago, or just players making a play. Those guys just did a good job. They had a lot of common sense and figured out what the best thing to do was in that situation.
It was basically your starting defense on that punt return. Is that because of the potential of the fake? That's not normally your punt return unit, is it?
That's correct. So, yeah, that was the defense that was on the field minus one substitution. Khalif went on the game, obviously, as a returner. And then that play wasn't Will. It was our nickel, which was Mike Hughes, came off the field. And then, yeah, it was the starting defense out there. So, yeah, the first part of the play is try to make sure they punt it.
About meeting with Campbell and what that's like when you're having a meeting. What is he like in that situation, or how does he implement all the different game plans?
Yeah, that's a good question, because I do think that he's very unique that way. He's got a tremendous feel he's got a tremendous ability to inspire a coach, and part of that's just what he puts into it. He gives everything of himself for this football team, for the players and the coaches, and it's relentless. His pursuit to try to win is relentless. His mind has never stopped. He's always thinking, whether it be like a year ago, playing Godwin at running back or at safety instead of safety, moving him to running back, so that we could pick up an extra player who could maybe help us, whether it's something that we could do on special teams. But he's always thinking, so he's always coming at you with something. But the other part of him that to me is really unique is his ability to convey some of the messages to you. I know this. I don't do great with people telling me how to do things all the time, which is probably why I'm doing what I'm doing. But school is hard on me. But he's got a unique way of like conveying a message or delivering a message to you of kind of the way he wants things to be done or how things can go, but without telling you like this is how you got to do it. And it really, you know, he makes you think, and he's inquisitive, and it makes you think, you know what, he's got a point. And then it kind of becomes your idea, you know, and he kind of plays into that. Like, he's wicked smart, man. I mean, he's super intelligent. I know he comes across as different, but I don't know, whatever, those SAT scores and all that stuff, I guarantee you is off the charts. But anyway, so he's just got a very unique way about him, and it's enjoyable to work for him because you don't feel like anything's ever pressed down your throat, or, you know, you're being backed up against a wall, or you got to do it this way. But he does make you think, and he makes you better.
It seems like you guys, if I can just do one more, it seems like you guys fake punt more than anyone else in the league, but there's not a lot of statistics for that kind of thing. I'm curious if you guys track those kind of plays that occur around the league and how you stack up.
Yeah, so I think probably every special teams coach has this, but we have, like, I have in our video system, I'll have all the fakes run throughout. Really, I don't know. I couldn't tell you what it dates back to, a long time ago, and then up to today. So we can go back and look through all the different fakes that have been run, how they're run, if they worked or not. And we have gone back and charted kind of what are some of the more successful plays to help our percentages and all that. And Dan and I have watched that tape on a couple of occasions, really, and just gone through it, you know, and you're just picking pieces or finding something that worked or why it didn't work or what could be done differently. But yeah, so I think every coach has that. In terms of tracking like number of fakes, I watch every play from around the league every single week on special teams, and so I'll see everything that's done, but I don't actually keep track of like the numbers and the percentages. All we're really worried about is our team and trying to win and do that. I'm not big into all the other stuff, but